My daughter-in-law called me last Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. She was screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Murray, the mortgage payment bounced. The bank is calling. Did you send the transfer or not? I leaned back in my kitchen chair, looked out at the fog rolling off Bedford Basin, and for the first time in maybe 30 years, I laughed. A real laugh. The kind that starts deep in your gut and doesn't care who hears it. "Didn't I tell you?" I said. "Didn't I make it clear? But before I tell you how I cut off my own son from the life I was paying for, please hit that like button to support this channel. Subscribe if you believe respect goes both ways. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I love knowing who's out here listening. Now let me take you back to the dinner where everything fell apart. My name is Murray Chicken. That is not my real last name. My real last name is Chicken. I know. I have heard every joke. I am 68 years old. I was born in Guysborough County, Nova Scotia, in a house with no indoor plumbing until I was 9. My father was a lobster fisherman who lost 3 fingers to a winch cable before I started grade school. My mother cleaned rooms at a motel on the Trans-Canada. Everything I have, I built with these hands. I started working on construction sites at 16. By 25, I had my contractor's license. By 40, I owned 6 rental properties across HRM, Halifax Regional Municipality for those who don't know. By 55, I had paid them all off. I could have retired right then, but I kept working because I didn't know how to stop. Looking at me, you would see a heavy man in a plaid jacket and steel-toe boots. My truck is a 2011 F-150 with rust on the wheel wells. I get my coffee at Tim Hortons, double-double, same order since 1986. I am not a flashy man. My son Cody is a different story. Cody is 34. He works at a marketing agency downtown. The kind of place where everybody has a title with the word creative in it, but nobody can change a tire. His wife Janine is 29. She runs an Instagram page about coastal living, even though the closest she gets to the coast is the waterfront boardwalk, where she takes photos of her outfits. They have been married for 2 years now, or so I thought. It was a Saturday evening in late September. The leaves along the northwest arm were just starting to turn, that deep red and gold that makes Nova Scotia look like it's on fire. I had driven into the city from my place in Fall River to have dinner with Cody and Janine at the condo. Their condo, at Comptoir. Their condo, except it isn't their condo. I bought it, a 2-bedroom unit in a new build on Barrington Street with a harbor view. I put down the full deposit. I co-signed the mortgage. And every single month, I transferred $2,800 into Cody's account to cover the payment, the condo fees, and the property tax. Cody told his friends he was a homeowner. He told them he was building equity. He was building nothing. I was building it for him. I parked my truck on the street because Janine once told me my F-150 lowers the tone of the parking garage. I took the elevator up to the 8th floor. I had a bottle of Jost wine from the Valley in one hand and a bag of Donairs from King of Donair in the other. I thought we were having a family dinner. I thought it would be nice. I knocked on the door. Cody opened it. He was wearing a blazer over a t-shirt that probably cost more than my hydro bill. He looked nervous. Behind him, Janine was sitting at the kitchen island scrolling through her phone, her nails freshly done, a glass of white wine already half empty. The condo smelled like those expensive candles she orders online. $60 a candle. I've seen the credit card bills because I pay those too. "Hey, Dad," Cody said. "Come in." I handed him the wine and the Donairs. Janine glanced up from her phone just long enough to wrinkle her nose. "Oh, Murray, you didn't have to bring food. We ordered sushi." She never calls me Dad. It is always Murray, like I am a neighbor she tolerates. I sat down at the island. The sushi was laid out on a wooden board, the fancy kind with raw fish and edible flowers on top. There was a receipt folded under the board. I could see the total. $187 for sushi. On my dime. We ate in silence for a while. Cody kept refilling his wine. Janine kept scrolling. I tried to make conversation. I asked about work. I asked about the weather. I asked if they had seen the new exhibit at the Maritime Museum. Nothing. One-word answers. Like I was interviewing them for a job they didn't want. Finally, I brought up the thing I had actually come to talk about. So, I said, keeping my voice light, I was talking to my brother Hugh up in Cape Breton. He wants to come down for Thanksgiving. I was thinking we could all do a big dinner. Maybe rent a hall at the Legion, get the whole family together. I haven't seen Hugh since your mother's funeral, and that was 3 years ago. Cody set down his chopsticks. He looked at Janine. That look. I know that look now. It is the look of a man silently begging someone else to deliver the bad news. Janine put her phone face down on the counter. She picked up her wine glass and took a slow sip. Then she smiled at me. Not a warm smile. The kind of smile a bank teller gives you when your account is overdrawn. Murray, she said, Thanksgiving isn't going to work for us this year. We actually already have plans. Plans, I said. It's a month away. What kind of plans? Well, Janine said, tilting her head like she was explaining something to a child. We had our vow renewal last weekend. A private ceremony at the Lord Nelson Hotel. Very intimate. Very curated. And we're still recovering from all the socializing, honestly. We need our space. I blinked. Vow renewal? You've been married 2 years. What vows are you renewing? It's a trend, Murray. People do it. It's about reaffirming your commitment. Okay, I said slowly. But why didn't you mention it? I would have come. I could have brought Hugh down. Janine let out a long breath through her nose. She exchanged another glance with Cody. My son was staring at his sushi like it held the answers to the universe. That's actually the thing, Janine said. We didn't invite you because, and I'm saying this with love, Murray, you wouldn't have fit the vibe. I felt something tighten in my chest. The vibe. The aesthetic, she said. We had a dress code. Cocktail formal. Black and champagne tones. We hired a photographer from Toronto. The guest list was very specific. 80 people, all curated. People from the agency, some influencer friends. Janine's parents flew in from Kelowna. Janine's parents were there, I said. It was not a question. Of course, Janine said, like I had asked if water was wet. My parents understand the vision. They dressed appropriately. They contributed to the decor budget. They get it. And I don't get it. Janine sighed again. Murray, you're a wonderful man. But let's be honest, you would have shown up in your work jacket and your rubber boots and made everyone uncomfortable. You would have asked for a Keith's at the champagne bar. You would have tried to talk to people about lobster season. It would have been awkward for everyone, especially you. We did you a favor. I looked at my son. Cody, is that how you feel? Cody wouldn't look at me. He picked up a piece of salmon roll and put it in his mouth, chewing slowly, buying time. Finally, he swallowed and said, It's not personal, Dad. It was Janine's event. Her vision. I just went along with it. We were going to do a separate thing for you. Maybe a cookout at your place. Burgers on the deck. Something more your style. A cookout. While they drank champagne at the Lord Nelson. Something more my style. Like I'm a golden retriever who'd be happier with a bone in the backyard than a seat at the table. I looked around the condo. The furniture I paid for. The TV I bought them for Christmas. The kitchen where Janine made her Instagram videos about living your best coastal life. I paid for every square inch of that coastal life. And they couldn't save me a chair at a banquet hall 10 minutes from my house. I noticed Janine's hand resting on the counter. On her left ring finger was a new ring. Not the engagement ring I had helped pay for. That one cost me $12,000 from a jewelry on Spring Garden Road. This was something else. A thick diamond band. An anniversary band. A renewal band. Whatever they were calling it. That's a new ring, I said, Janine lifted her hand and admired it. "Isn't it gorgeous?" Cody surprised me. I looked at Cody. "How much?" Cody coughed. "Dad, come on." "How much, Cody?" "8,000, he mumbled. "But it was on sale." "8,000, he mumbled. "But it was on sale." $8,000. My son, who has never once made a mortgage payment with his own money, spent $8,000 on a ring for a woman who told his father he wasn't special enough to watch them exchange vows. And I knew exactly where that money came from. Last month, Cody had called me saying he needed an advance on next quarter's expenses. He said it was for a professional development course. I transferred $10,000 into his account without asking for a receipt. I am a fool. I have been a fool for 34 years. I stood up from the island. My stool scraped against the hardwood. "You're leaving already?" Cody said. The relief in his voice was the worst part. "I've lost my appetite," I said. Janine rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic, Murray. It was a party. You didn't miss anything important. If it makes you feel better, the food wasn't even that good." I put on my jacket. I walked to the door. I turned around one last time. I looked at Cody. I saw the boy I taught to skate on Chocolate Lake. I saw the teenager I drove to hockey practice at 5 a.m. every Saturday for 6 years. I saw the young man whose university tuition I paid by working weekends until my knees gave out. And then I saw a stranger sitting in a condo he didn't earn, eating sushi he couldn't afford, wearing a blazer bought with money he'd taken from his father under false pretenses. "Congratulations on your renewal," I said. "I hope it was everything you wanted." I closed the door behind me. Quietly, I took the elevator down to the lobby. The concierge, a young guy named Rajesh who always asked me about the moose heads, nodded at me. "Evening, Mr. Chicken. Everything all right?" "Everything's fine, Rajesh," I said. "Just heading home early." I walked out into the Halifax night. The harbor was black and still. The lights from Dartmouth twinkled across the water. I sat in my truck for 20 minutes without starting the engine. I wasn't crying. I was past that. I was doing math. In the past 5 years, I had transferred roughly $168,000 in mortgage payments. I had paid $12,000 for an engagement ring, $10,000 for a professional development course that turned out to be an anniversary ring and a party I wasn't invited to. I had covered their car insurance, their phone bills, their credit card when it got too high. I had paid for Janine's dental work when she decided she wanted veneers. I had lent Cody money for a business opportunity that turned out to be cryptocurrency. Conservative estimate, I had spent over $300,000 on 2 adults who could not look me in the eye over a California roll and tell me why I wasn't welcome at their party. The next morning, I called my lawyer. Her name is Lorraine Chicken. No relation, different chicken entirely. She has been handling my properties for 15 years. I told her everything. I told her I wanted out. "Murray," Lorraine said carefully, "you co-signed the mortgage on that condo. You're on the title. You're on the title. You have rights here, but it's going to take some steps." "I don't care how many steps," I said. "I want my name off that mortgage, and I want them to start paying their own way. If they can't, the condo goes on the market." Lorraine was quiet for a moment. "Are you sure about this? He's your son." "I know he's my son," I said. "That's exactly why I'm doing it." Lorraine drew up the paperwork. I sent Cody a registered letter, the kind you have to sign for at the post office. It laid everything out. Effective November 1st, I would no longer be making mortgage payments on the Barrington Street condo. Cody and Janine had 60 days to refinance the mortgage in their own names, or the property would be listed for sale. I also canceled the monthly transfer. All of it. The mortgage, the condo fees, the insurance, the phone bill, everything. Cut off like a tap. 3 days went by before Cody called. I was at the hardware store in Fall River buying weather stripping for my back door. My phone buzzed. I looked at the screen. I let it ring 4 times before I picked up. Dad, what is this? Cody's voice was high and thin, like a teenager who just got caught sneaking in past curfew. I got a letter from your lawyer. She says you're pulling the mortgage payments. This has to be a mistake. It's not a mistake, I said. I was looking at a display of Robertson screwdrivers while I said this. Canadian invention, the Robertson. Good screwdriver. Reliable. You and Janine are adults. You've been telling everyone you're successful homeowners. Time to prove it. Dad, we can't afford the mortgage on our own. You know what Janine makes from Instagram? And my salary barely covers our lifestyle. Then change your lifestyle, I said. There was a pause. I could hear Janine's voice in the background, sharp and fast, feeding Cody his lines. Dad, this isn't fair. You can't just pull the rug out from under us. We have a standard of living. You have my standard of living, I said. I'm taking it back. Is this about the vow renewal? Cody asked, because Janine already said she was sorry about that. No, she didn't. Another pause. More whispering from Janine. Well, she was going to. Look, Dad, can we just talk about this over dinner? Come to the condo. We'll make it nice. No, I said. I've eaten my last meal in that condo. We'll make it nice. No, I said. I've eaten my last meal in that condo. You have the letter. You have 60 days. Talk to your bank. I hung up. I bought the weather stripping. I went home and fixed my door. It felt good to fix something with a simple solution. Over the next 2 weeks, I got 7 more calls from Cody, each one more desperate than the last. Janine called twice, which was unprecedented because Janine had never called me voluntarily in the entire time I had known her. The first call was angry. She accused me of being petty. She said I was ruining their lives over a misunderstanding. She said her parents were appalled by my behavior. I told her that her parents were welcome to start making the mortgage payments if they were so appalled. The second call was different. Janine's voice was softer, almost sweet. Murray, she said, I know we got off on the wrong foot. I think of you like a father. I really do. Can we start fresh? Maybe you could come for Thanksgiving after all. I'll make sure there's Keith's in the fridge. I almost laughed. Janine, I said, you think of me like a father the same way you think of a credit card. Useful until it's maxed out. The answer is no. Pay your own mortgage. She hung up on me. I was fine with that. November 1st came. The first mortgage payment date with no transfer from me. Cody's bank sent him a notice. He called me in a panic. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail that was 4 minutes long. Half of it was him stammering. The other half was Janine in the background saying things like, tell him we'll sue, and this is financial abuse. Financial abuse. That was a new one. The woman who had spent $300,000 of my money without once saying thank you was calling me financially abusive for stopping. The next week, I got a call from Janine's father. His name is Dennis. He lives in Kelowna with his wife and runs some kind of consulting business. Dennis told me, in a very measured tone, that what I was doing to the kids was irresponsible, and that family should support family. Dennis, I said, I agree completely. Family should support family. Which is why Janine and Cody weren't able to save me a seat at the vow renewal. But I'll tell you what, since you feel so strongly about supporting the kids, you're welcome to take over the mortgage payments. It's $2,800 a month. I'll have my lawyer send you the banking details. Dennis sputtered something about that not being what he meant and hung up. He never called again. By mid-November, Cody and Janine had missed 2 payments. The bank sent a formal warning. I know this because Lorraine was monitoring the situation. She told me Cody had applied for refinancing on his own and been denied. His credit score was too low. His income wasn't enough. Without my name on the paperwork, the bank wouldn't touch them. That is when things got ugly. Cody showed up at my house in Fall River on a Sunday morning. He didn't call first. He just appeared in the driveway in the Audi that I had co-signed the lease on. He knocked on my door. I opened it. He looked terrible. Bags under his eyes. Unshaven. His blazer was wrinkled. "Dad," he said, "please, can I come in?" I let him in. I made him coffee. Tim Hortons from the can, the way I've always made it. He sat at my kitchen table, the same kitchen table where he did his homework as a kid, and he cried. "I messed up, Dad," he said. "I know I messed up. Janine and I, we got caught up in a lifestyle. We wanted to look successful. We wanted people to think we had it all figured out. And somewhere along the way, we forgot that everything we had came from you." I listened. I didn't interrupt. "The vow, renewal," he continued. "I knew it was wrong not to invite you. I told Janine we should. She said you wouldn't enjoy it. She said you'd feel out of place, and I was too weak to push back. I chose her comfort over your feelings. And I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, Dad." I sipped my coffee. I looked at my son. I saw the genuine pain on his face. I also saw a man who was 34 years old and had never paid his own rent. "Cody," I said, "I love you. I will always love you. But loving you doesn't mean financing you. I spent 34 years making your life easy because I thought that's what a good father does. My own dad broke his back on that fishing boat so I could have more than he did, and I broke my back on construction sites so you could have more than I did. But somewhere I went wrong. I gave you everything except the ability to stand on your own 2 feet." "What do I do, Dad?" he asked. "We can't afford the condo. We can't afford anything." "Then you downsize," I said. "You get a smaller apartment. You make a budget. You learn to cook instead of ordering $187 sushi. You drive a car you can actually pay for. And you build something real instead of performing something fake on Instagram." Cody stared at his coffee. "Janine won't agree to that. She'll leave me." "Then you'll know exactly what she was there for," I said. He left that afternoon. He didn't say much else. He just hugged me at the door. A real hug, the kind he hadn't given me in years, and drove away. By December, the condo was listed for sale. Cody and Janine couldn't make the payments and couldn't refinance. Lorraine handled the listing. In the Halifax market, that Harborview unit sold in 3 weeks for $485,000. After paying off the remaining mortgage and the legal fees, there was $190,000 left. My money I had poured into a place where I wasn't welcome. The day the sale closed, I sat in Lorraine's office in downtown Halifax. She slid the paperwork across the desk. I signed everything. She transferred the proceeds into my account. "So what now, Murray?" Lorraine asked. "RRSP? Gike? You've earned a rest." I looked out her window at the harbor. I thought about my father and his 3 missing fingers. I thought about the kids I see on job sites now, the young ones in hard hats trying to make an honest living. I thought about how the world tells them they're nothing because they didn't go to university and get a marketing degree. I thought about how my own son looked down on the work that paid for his entire life. "I want to set up a scholarship," I said. "The Murray Chicken Trades Bursary. I know the name is ridiculous. I don't care. I want it to go to young people in Nova Scotia entering the trades, plumbing, electrical, welding, carpentry, the kids who aren't afraid to get their hands dirty." Lorraine smiled. "How much are we putting in?" "All of it," I said. "Every cent from that condo sale. $190,000, and I want to add more every year from my rental income. These kids deserve a shot. I got mine because my father sacrificed his fingers. Nobody should have to lose a piece of themselves to give their kid a future." "Consider it done," Lorraine said. I signed the papers. I shook her hand. I walked out of her office into the December air. Halifax was gray and cold, the harbor choppy with whitecaps, the kind of day that reminds you this is the Atlantic. And the Atlantic doesn't care about your aesthetic. I drove home to Fall River. I parked my rusty F-150 in the driveway. I went inside and called my brother Hugh in Cape Breton. "Hugh," I said, "you still got that cabin up by the Bras door?" "Course I do," Hugh said. "Why, you finally coming up?" "I'm coming up," I said. "Tomorrow. Bring the rods. I want to catch some trout. I want to sit on your deck and drink a schooner and not talk about money or vow renewals or Instagram for at least a week." Hugh laughed. "Brother, I don't even know what a vow renewal is. Get on the 105 and come on up. I'll have the wood stove going." I packed a bag. I didn't pack much. A change of clothes, my fishing gear, a thermos. I locked up the house. I walked to my truck. The engine turned over with that familiar rattle, the sound of something old and honest that still works because somebody maintained it. I pulled out of the driveway. I merged onto the highway heading north, up through Truro, past New Glasgow, through the Canso Causeway and onto Cape Breton Island. As for Cody and Janine, they moved out of the condo before the sale closed. Last I heard, they rented a basement apartment in Clayton Park. Janine's Instagram went quiet. Cody got a second job delivering for a courier service on evenings and weekends. He hasn't called to ask for money in 2 months. He did call last week just to say hello. We talked for 6 minutes. He told me he cooked dinner for the first time. Chicken stir-fry. He burned the rice. I told him burned rice builds character. Janine's parents in Kelowna have not offered to help them. Dennis has not called again. I didn't tell Cody about the scholarship. Not yet. Maybe someday he'll understand that the money I stopped giving him went to something better. It went to kids who remind me of the man I used to be. Kids who show up early and stay late and don't think they're too good for a hard hat. The drive to Cape Breton takes about 4 hours from Fall River. I didn't play the radio. I just drove. The highway cut through forest and rock, past lakes that looked like dark glass. Snow was starting to fall, the first real snow of the season, soft and quiet, covering everything in white. I thought about what I'd lost. A penthouse dinner table where nobody talked to me, a daughter-in-law who called me by my first name, a son who was too afraid of his wife to stand up for his father. I thought about what I'd gained, my self-respect, my savings, a bursary that might help some kid from Guysborough County who reminds me of myself at 16, scared but willing to work, and a week of fishing with the only person on earth who has never once made me feel like I wasn't enough. I crossed the Canso Causeway just as the sun was setting behind the hills. Cape Breton opened up in front of me, wild and familiar. Hugh's cabin was 40 minutes north, up a gravel road, tucked in the spruce trees by the water. I drove. The snow fell. The road was empty. The hardest thing I ever built wasn't a house or a building or a business. It was the courage to tell my own son that the bank of Dad was closed. Most parents confuse paying for everything with loving unconditionally. But funding someone's life is not the same as building their character. Sometimes the most generous thing you can do is stop being generous. And the people who leave when the money dries up were never there for you in the first place. They were there for your wallet. Your dignity is the one asset you should never refinance.